Hello everyone, welcome to today's The Hindu Analysis. My name is Sairam. So let us look at the first article of today's discussion. A chaotic world, the perils of multilateralism. Very important article regarding GS paper 2, international relations. So to understand this particular article in great detail, we have to understand the meaning of this particular word, that is multilateralism. Very important. When you see this suffix called ism simply means ideology. So multilateralism is actually an ideology that surrounds around multilateral groupings or multilateral engagements. Very important. What do you mean by multilateral? Multilateral simply means relationship or engagement between three or more countries. Very important. So multilateralism is actually an ideology of organizing relations between groups of different countries, groups of three or more countries. And this multilateralism as a concept evolved after the culmination of World War II. And I hope you all know that this World War II was a devastating event in the history of our planet. Why? World War II has resulted in a monstrous crisis in all spheres, isn't it? So the refugee crisis, which was triggered after World War II, and also there was huge loss to men and material, and also it resulted in the loss of livelihoods to a lot of people. On a whole, World War II can be called as a humanitarian crisis. So in order to build trust between different nations and in order to avoid the events like World War II to repeat in the near future, so the multilateralism as a concept, multilateralism as an idea evolved. And during that particular time, you can see the emergence of different multilateral groupings, different intergovernmental organizations as well, like United Nations and IMF, World Bank, etc. Why they emerged? To secure peace and stability in the world, and also to build trust between different countries with different ideologies, isn't it? And in the recent times, we have also seen the emergence of different regional groupings as well, like SAARC, BRICS, etc. SAARC is an acronym for South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. It is a grouping of 8 countries, where BRICS is an acronym for the grouping of 5 countries, B for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, and S for South Africa, isn't it? And by this, you must have understood that multilateralism had many benefits to ripe for different countries. Like it succeeded greatly in ensuring peace and stability between different countries. It succeeded in building trust between different countries. It succeeded in building people-to-people relations, cultural relations, and also economic prosperity to different countries. But here are other T.P. Srinivasan, who worked as a former Indian ambassador with long experience in multilateral diplomacy. He had surprisingly identified different perils of multilateralism, different concerns and challenges with growing multilateralism nowadays. Especially in this world, in this chaotic world, in this world of disorder, in this messy world, this idea of multilateralism yields many issues rather than benefits, according to T.P. Srinivasan, who was our author. Right? So with this basically said, let us try to discuss different concerns and challenges with this ideology or concept of multilateralism, and let us dive into the article without any delay. So the context of this article is, here are author Srinivasan, he tries to bring out different concerns and challenges with growing multilateralism in the present chaotic world, the world of disorder. So what exactly is the meaning of multilateralism in the first place? So multilateralism is actually an idea or ideology. I have already told you, if you find the suffix ism, then you must understand that. So that word denotes an ideology. So idea of organizing relations between groups of 3 or more states. If there is engagement between 2 states, 2 nations, then it is simply called as bilateral engagement. But if there is engagement between, if there are relations between 3 or more nations on a single platform, then it is simply called as multilateral grouping. So multilateralism is actually fundamental, which is very essential, very important to the present liberal world, which is created after the culmination of World War II, which is a disastrous event in the history of our planet, we must say. And just like I already told you, this multilateralism is very fundamental, very essential, very necessary, very crucial in maintaining peace, stability, and prosperity of different countries as well. And if you want me to mention different examples for these multilateral groupings or intergovernmental organizations, there are a few examples here. One is BRICS, G7, grouping of 7 nations, G20, SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, etc. And in a nutshell, we can simply understand that this multilateralism as a concept, it is a goal to ensure peace, stability, and prosperity of different nations. And what are the means to achieve this particular goal? What are the tools to achieve this particular goal? Simply, these multilateral organizations are intergovernmental organizations like BRICS, G7, G20, SAARC. They act as tools or means to achieve this particular goal, that is multilateralism. I hope you understood clearly till now. Let us look at the next slide. Now let us try to understand some major concerns or challenges associated with multilateralism. The first challenge highlighted in this particular article was these non-political international organizations are being politicized by major powers for their vested interests. Suppose BRICS is actually a non-political international organization. The concept of BRICS emerged in the early years of 2000s for the inclusive development of these 5 nations. One is Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, and S for South Africa. When BRICS as a multilateral grouping came into existence, it emerged with a list of great objectives and goals like poverty alleviation, economic prosperity, sustainable development, improving the livelihoods and living standards of people, etc. But the recent trend is even BRICS is being politicized by major powers in this grouping. One is China and second one is Russia. Our author alleges that both China and Russia are manipulating its other member nations in BRICS for their own vested interests. The second important concern highlighted by our author is dominance by major powers in the grouping. Again, our author says that these particular major powers in a grouping, they're actually dominating the other smaller powers, and T.B. Srinivasan get to an extent of comparing these major powers as carnivores, whereas the smaller powers as herbivores. And the efficiency of these institutions being compromised because of this dominance by superpowers in a grouping. And the third important concern was inefficiency of multilateral groupings in avoiding conflicts. Though the idea of multilateralism emerged with an objective of diminishing or reducing conflicts between different countries with different ideologies or to ensure peace and stability in the world, but these organizations are failing big time in building and strengthening and boosting trust between different nations. For example, the recent Galwan issue between India and China. Though both India and China are part of a multilateral grouping, that is BRICS, but this BRICS framework failed immensely in ensuring harmonious relations between these both neighbor nations. And Chinese aggression at line of actual control. You all know that China is moving aggressively all through the line of actual control, which is the de facto line separating India and China. And recently in news, we have also seen that Chinese are constructing huge embankments and infrastructure all along line of actual control. So it clearly shows that, it clearly manifests that BRICS as a framework failed in avoiding these conflicts. So the next important concern is political issues between member countries. It is diluting the efficiency of groupings. So what our author is trying to say is different members with different political ideologies having conflicts within them, the infighting between these groupings, it is actually diluting the efficiency of these groupings, according to our author. For example, let us look at SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. And it is a grouping of 8 regional powers. One is Afghanistan, second one Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. But what exactly is happening is the political rift between these two nations, one is India and Pakistan, it is actually diluting the SAARC to function in an efficient way. Because whenever this Kashmir issue, the age-old Kashmir issue between India and Pakistan is being raised on the platform of SAARC, one or the other country, I mean either India or Pakistan, used to boycott that particular summit. Because of that reason, this intergovernmental organization SAARC is toiling very hard to fulfill its objectives. Right? These are four important concerns or challenges. Let us get into the next slide. Let us look at some other important concerns or challenges. The fifth important concern was strengthening Russia-China link recent times. So since the relationship between Russia and China is being strengthened in recent times, it is actually threatening the harmonious operation of BRICS. So whatever the China did, whatever the Chinese actions are, Russia is supporting China inevitably, except for some measures to hold talks between both China and India. This is also one of the very important concern. So for example, neither the previous Soviet Union nor Russia, which has emerged after the collapse of Soviet Union in 1991, no, neither of them, they supported India against China since 1962. Because they both share a strong relation with respect to their ideology and with respect to their resources, with respect to other things as well. So they both share brother and the friend, relation between them. That is the reason why, though Russia is one of our strongest allies, Russia is shying away in supporting India, in India-China issues. The sixth important concern was hollow words in the joint communiques released by member nations. After each summit, all the member nations follow a tradition of issuing a joint statement. In this joint statement, they use strong words like democracy, inclusiveness, cooperation, close engagement, etc. But in practicality, they are not being respected. The author alleges that these multilateral institutions are intergovernmental institutions copying the same data from the previous reports, and they are issuing it to press as a joint statement or joint communique, but they are not respecting the statements or the very strong words mentioned in their joint statements. And the seventh important concern was China is actually using BRICS and other multilateral groupings to extend its prestigious project Belt and Road Initiative. China always have had a strong objective of becoming the world superpower. So in recent times, it also emerged as world's manufacturing hub. China has seen huge economic growth in recent times, even in the technology, even in other aspects as well, different spheres as well. China was able to secure a great success and great growth. And to augment its prosperity and to improve its economic strength, what China has introduced in 2013, the present Chinese President Xi Jinping, he came up with an initiative called Belt and Road Initiative or One Belt One Road Initiative. With this initiative, China wants to build huge infrastructure projects. China wants to fund huge infrastructure projects all around the world. So the goods manufactured in China, so that the products manufactured in China, they can go places with the strengthening of these infrastructural facilities like roads, ports, construction of different ports, modernizing of railways, power plants, fuel plants, etc. So by using its deep pockets, China is offering different funds, huge amount of funds to different nations and trying to intervene in the internal matters of different countries. It is usually termed as debt trap policy in international relations. This Chinese debt trap policy is further intensifying the economic crisis faced by different smaller nations that was induced by COVID-19. So the Chinese debt trap policy is also another problem. And the next concern highlighted by our author was the recent G7 summit, which was hosted by Germany and which was participated by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well, is dominated by Russia-Ukraine war-related negotiations rather than other important aspects like clean energy, anti-terrorism, COVID-19, universal vaccination, etc. Since this grouping G7 is greatly dominated by Western nations, their major concern was Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Though they are not directly part of this particular war, they are further trying to strengthen, they are further trying to impose many more sanctions on Russia. That is the reason why this recent G7 summit was mostly dominated by these war-related negotiations rather than other most important aspects. right? So G7 is actually a grouping of 7 nations, world most leading economies. Like one is United States of America, second one is Canada, third one UK, fourth one France, fifth one Germany, sixth one Italy, and seventh one Japan. And the European Union, which is again a multilateral coalition between Europe's 27 countries. It is actually a permanent invitee to every G7 summit, right? I hope you understood all the concerns associated with multilateralism and this idea of multilateral groupings mentioned in this particular article. Now let us look at the way forward and the recommendations given by our author. So the author suggested that the world players must emphasize on bilateral arrangements rather than multilateral groupings. I already told you the difference between bilateral arrangements and multilateral groupings. Multilateral means it is an arrangement of relation between 3 or more nations, whereas bilateral arrangement means it is actually an engagement, it is actually a negotiation or dialogue between 2 nations. So here our author says, rather than multilateral groupings, rather than groupings between 3 or more nations, it is better for each country to deal with its counterpart individually, according to our author. And the second important way forward was realizing that it's not the right time for collective bargaining. According to the author, since the world faced a lot of chaotic situations in the first 2 decades of 21st century, one is the terrorist attack by Al-Qaeda, which was led by Osama bin Laden. Second one was 2008 economic crisis. Third one was 2011's Arab Spring. And the fourth one is COVID-19 crisis in 2020. And the next one is the present Russia-Ukraine war. In this world filled with chaos, in this world filled with disorder, in this world filled with severe mess, it is not recommended for a collective bargaining, collective negotiations, multilateral negotiations, says our author. And the third important recommendation was inclusion of minor powers into decision making. Our author emphasizes strongly on giving voices to developing nations and the minor powers to take their own decisions, to take decisions on their national interests. And the fourth important point was enhancement of the role of developing countries. Just like I already told you, our author mentioned this countless number of times with respect to the enhancement of the role of developing countries in taking collective decisions, right? So this is all about this particular article. I hope you understood the entire article in a great detail, and this can be your potential mains question as well in general studies paper, and I hope you are making notes out of these articles. However, don't worry, if you join our Telegram channel, the Telegram channel of LTX classes, by using the link given in the description below, you can access this particular PDF every single day. Okay, so with this discussion, let us try to get to our next article. So let's look at the second article of our discussion. The title of this article says, Dhyana Mandir to be built at Alluri birthplace. Very important article regarding GS paper 1, history and culture. To be precise, modern Indian history. So you all know that our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he attended 125th birth anniversary of the great freedom fighter named Alluri Sitarama Raju, who led a great tribal uprising named Rampa Rebellion. Very important. I believe you have gone through this Rampa Rebellion as part of your modern Indian history syllabus. However, don't worry. Let's discuss this Rampa Rebellion and the great freedom fighter named Alluri Sitarama Raju in a very detailed manner. Now, without any further delay, let's get into the details of this particular article. So, what was given in this particular news article? Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday, that means yesterday, he attended a special event organized in the state of Andhra Pradesh. And Mr. Modi, along with other dignitaries like Governor of Andhra Pradesh Biswabhushan Harichandan, Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy, and Union Minister for Tourism and Culture G. Kishan Reddy, they kick-started a year-long 125th birth anniversary celebrations of Manyam Veerudu, which is the nickname of Mr. Alluri Sitarama Raju, who was a renowned and prominent freedom fighter. And while attending this particular event, Prime Minister also virtually unveiled the 30-foot bronze statue of Alluri Sitarama Raju at ASR Nagar in Bhimavaram. And he also promised that his government will soon construct a devotional center named Alluri Dhyana Mandir at the birthplace of this freedom fighter Alluri Sitarama Raju, that is Mogallu. Very, very important. Mogallu is in West Godavari district of Andhra Pradesh. So with this basically said, let us try to understand some important facts about Alluri Sitarama Raju and the uprising he led as part of Indian freedom struggle, that is called Rampa Rebellion. Let us get into the details. So Mr. Sitaram Raju, he was born in 1897 in a village named Mogallu in present-day Andhra Pradesh, and he became one of the martyrs of motherland in 1924 in a police attack by the British forces. So he was actually an Indian revolutionary who waged an armed campaign against the British colonial rule in India. He was nicknamed as Manyam Veerudu, which literally means hero of the jungle in Telugu, and he was called with the very name by the local villagers for his heroic exploits and heroic deeds. He was born in present-day Andhra Pradesh in a small village called Mogallu, and he became involved in anti-British activities in response to the 1882 Madras Forest Act. What exactly is 1882 Madras Forest Act? The administration of the erstwhile Madras Presidency in British India, they enacted a draconian law named Madras Forest Act, and this Forest Act was meant to restrict the free movement of Adivasis or tribals. With this particular act, the British administration divided the entire forest area in the country into three major divisions. One is reserved forest, and the second one is protected forest, and third one is village forest. And the British government used to allow these Adivasis or tribals into only these village forests, and they used to restrict the movement of Adivasis or tribals in the rest of the two divisions. That means reserved and protected forests. Very, very important. Since they were being restricted by the British colonial laws, all these Adivasis led by Mr. Alluri Sitarama Raju, they started an uprising, or they started a rebellion, that is a Rampa Rebellion in the forest habitats. So look at this. This act restricted the free movement of Adivasis or tribal communities in their forest habitats and prevented them from practicing a traditional form of agriculture known as podu cultivation or shifting cultivation or jum cultivation. So I hope you all know that majority of tribal communities in India, they practice this shifting cultivation or jum cultivation or podu cultivation. And as part of this, what these tribals do? Tribals used to clear the entire land area. They used to cut trees and they used to set fire to all these trees. And after clearing the land, after clearing these trees and all, what they used to do? They used to sow or spread these seeds. And after a farming period of up to 3 to 4 months, what they used to do? They used to abandon that particular place and they used to move to other place wherein they again started this jum cultivation. That means clearing the entire trees, entire plants, and after this they used to sow these plants. Right. So what the Britishers did, in order to restrict the shifting cultivation or podu cultivation, in order to prevent these tribals from practicing this traditional form of agriculture, they divided entire forest area into three parts. One is reserved and protected regions, and the third one is village forests. And these tribals are allowed to practice this cultivation, are allowed to practice other practices like herding and all only in these village forests. I hope you understood what exactly the shifting cultivation or podu cultivation exactly is. And initially, Mr. Alluri Sitarama Raju, under the influence of Gandhi's non-cooperation movement, he inspired the tribals and tribal people to seek justice in the local panchayati courts itself and asked them to and pleaded them to boycott these colonial courts. That is how he was succeeded in inculcating the concept of non-cooperation into tribal people as well. And he is known for leading a great rebellion or great uprising, that is Rampa Rebellion or Manyam Rebellion, which is a tribal uprising, happened in some parts of Andhra Pradesh in 1922. And as far as his death is concerned, in 1924, Mr. Raju was taken into police custody by the Britishers and he was tied to a tree and shot by public execution. And the death of this great leader also culminated the armed rebellion, that is Rampa Rebellion as well. Let us look at some facts about Rampa Rebellion. This Rampa Rebellion of 1922 was a tribal uprising. It is actually a rebellion, armed campaign started by tribal people, and it was led by Alluri Sitarama Raju in Godavari agents of Madras Presidency in British India. So there used to be an administrative area known as Rampa in the erstwhile Madras Presidency of British India, and this Rampa administrative area was a home to about 28,000 tribal people. Then what the British did? British enacted this Madras Forest Act 1882 to prevent and to restrict these tribal people in using forest resources, right? So thereby restricting the free movement of tribal communities and prohibiting them from engaging in their traditional Podu agricultural system. We already discussed what exactly is this Podu agricultural system, or Jum cultivation or shifting cultivation, right? Very, very important. Let's get into the next slide. And if we talk about the legacy of Mr. Sitarama Raju, he left behind an inspiring legacy of anti-imperialist rebellion. His death and his sacrifices inspired many Indians in taking arms against the British and the colonial rule. Every year, each and every year, the government of Andhra Pradesh commemorates his birth date, 4th of July, as a state festival. Look at me carefully. Let me repeat this point again. 4th of July every year is considered as a state festival by the government of Andhra Pradesh. And as far as the values propagated by Mr. Sitaram Raju were concerned, so he propagated mainly three important values. His life manifests actually three important values. One is patriotism, and the second one is sacrifice, and the third one is commitment to freedom. So the patriotic spark reinforced by him and the other heroes of our nation, it continues to thrive within all of us, right? It is a great value. And sacrifice, after sending chills down the spine of the British, the fierce revolutionary, that is Alluri Sitarama Raju, he laid down his life for the freedom of the motherland in 1924. He sacrificed his life to our motherland in 1924 at the very young age of just 27 years. And the commitment to the freedom, just like Alluri Sitarama Raju and many other freedom fighters, the youth in the country, the young people in the country must learn the spirit of sacrifice and unwavering commitment to freedom claimed by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi, being a great orator, he also included these kind of values, this set of values in his speech as well, right? That is the reason why I have included all these three values in our discussion. I hope it is clear till now. So this is all about this particular article. So let us try to understand the next article also in a great detail. So let us look at the next article of our today's discussion. The title of this article says Enforcing the Single-Use Plastic Ban. Very important article regarding GS paper 3, Environment and Ecology, and GS paper 2, Government Policies and Interventions as well. I hope you all know that with the effect from 1st July 2022, the central government, that is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, has banned the single-use plastic usage. It has recently released a notification banning a specific list of single-use plastic items, right? So in this context, this particular article is trying to discuss what exactly are single-use plastics and how will be the ban implemented, and is there a popular support for the ban, and it is trying to answer different aspects of global scenario as well. Let us look at the background of this particular topic, and later let us get into the details of this particular article and let us discuss this column in a comprehensive manner. So you all know that the central government, especially Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, it has banned the use of single-use plastic. Don't worry, I will explain what exactly are single-use plastic items in a few moments. So the single-use plastic usage was banned from July 1st, that is yesterday, and along with that, the central government, that is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they also came up with a list of plastic items that were banned from July 1st. So as per the notification of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, the manufacturing, the import, stocking, that is storage, distribution, sale and usage of following single-use plastic. They have given some list of single-use plastic items that were banned. including simple polystyrene to expanded polystyrene commodities, shall be prohibited with the effect from 1st July 2022. So with this being said, we should understand what exactly are single-use plastics, and we need to move to why the single-use plastics are banned, and third one, what kind of single-use plastic items were banned, and how the government is looking to enforce this particular ban. So we need to understand all these aspects in great detail, then we can understand this particular article very comprehensively. Let us look at the details of this single-use plastic ban. First, let us try to answer this question. What exactly is single-use plastic? As the name suggests, the single-use plastic items are those kind of plastic items that are used only once and discarded right away. For example, plastics used in packaging of items and bottles like shampoo bottles, detergent bottles, cosmetics, etc. Polythene bags that we usually use in a daily basis, face masks and coffee cups, cling films and trash bags, food packaging bags, etc. These all come under single-use plastics. As per the Minderu Foundation report, which was released in 2021, single-use plastics account for a 1/3 of all plastics produced globally. For example, if the world produces 100 tons of plastic globally, 1/3 of it, that means 33.3 tons of plastic accounts to single-use plastic, with 98% of the single-use plastic manufactured from fossil fuels. And these fossil fuels are known to release carbon emissions which are very detrimental, which are very harmful for the environment. I hope it is known to you. India features in the top 100 countries of single-use plastic waste generation. So among top 100 countries that release single-use plastic waste, that generate single-use plastic waste, India is one among them. At rank 94, India is at the rank 94, and the top three being, one is Singapore, second one is Australia, and third one is Oman. These countries are actually generating a large masses of single-use plastic wastage. India's domestic production of single-use plastic is actually 8 million metric tons annually, and its import of 2.9 million metric tons annually. That means, as a country, we produce single-use plastic of 8 million metric tons every year, and we import the single-use plastic items of 2.9 million metric tons. We can say these are very, very dangerous numbers, right? Let us get into the next slide. And the next question is, why these single-use plastic items are a cause of concern? The first important point of concern, of course, is environmental pollution. So the single-use plastic items also account for the majority of plastic discarded, which is dumped plastic, which is generated as waste. So if we talk about the numbers of this plastic, discarded plastic, the plastic that is generated as waste, the plastic that is thrown out as waste, it is actually 130 million metric tons globally in 2019. So, and the single-use plastic actually accounts for the majority of discarded plastic according to the sources. And all of these discarded plastic, they are burned, they are buried in landfills and are discarded directly into the environment. That is the reason why this particular single-use plastic is posing a threat to the environment and sustainability, right? And second important aspect is greenhouse gas emissions. It is actually an important point of concern because these greenhouse gases are very important elements that accounts to climate change, global warming, etc. Right. So on current trajectory of production, it has been projected that single-use plastic could attract for 5 to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. By the year 2050, among all the greenhouse gas emissions, the majority will be contributed by these single-use plastic items. So that is the reason why it is a point of concern, right? That is the reason why they should be banned at any cost in each and every country, not only in India. Now let us look at what are the important items being banned by central government, that is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, it has announced a ban on a list of items. Some of them are earbuds, balloon sticks, candy, ice cream sticks, cutlery items that are used for packaging of food, that is including plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, trays, sweet boxes, invitation cards, cigarette packs, PVC banners, which are PVC banners which measure under 100 microns. Microns is the measure of width of a particular plastic item. So a PVC banner which is having a width less than 100 microns, it will be banned. So the polystyrene for decoration, this polystyrene which is used for decoration is also been banned by Central Pollution Control Board. And polythene bags, the ministry had already banned polythene bags which are having the width under 75 microns in September 2021 itself, expanding the limit from the earlier 50 macrons. That means according to the earlier guidelines of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they only banned those polythene bags or plastic bags which are having the width of less than 50 microns. But now this was expanded to 75 microns. From December 2022, the ban will be extended to polythene bags under 120 micron. See, slowly the government is increasing and expanding the plastic bags which should be banned, right? And even these sachets, shampoo sachets and oil sachets, government also banned these sachets as well. According to the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016, there is also a complete ban on sachets using plastic material. Those sachets which are manufactured using a plastic material, so they will be banned completely. The sachets which are used for storing, packing, selling gurkha, tobacco, pan masala will be banned completely according to the rules of government. That is according to the rules of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, according to the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016. I hope it is clear till now. Let us get into the next slide. Then now let us look at how will the ban be enforced. The first important measure taken by the government is monitoring by CPCB, strict and stringent monitoring by Central Pollution Control Board. This ban will be monitored by the Central Pollution Control Board from the center and even the State Pollution Control Boards, that are SBCBs, and the State Pollution Control Boards, they will update each and every report to the center regularly. And the second measure is stopping the raw materials supply. Very, very important. And the government has issued directions to the national, state and local level industries which are supplying raw materials, these industries which are manufacturing single-use plastic items. So, for example, the center has given direction to all petrochemical industries to not to supply raw materials to the industries who are engaged in these banned items. And the third one is directions to industries. So all the industries which are engaged in the manufacturing of this particular single use plastic, they were directed to revoke their operation. They were directed to stop their operation. And the fourth important measure was issuing new license. All the existing licenses of these industries who are engaging in the manufacturing of single use plastics will be ceased to exist from July 1st, 2022. Right, and the government will issue new licenses according to the new guidelines issued by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And the next one is strict penalty. So those people who violate these guidelines, they will attract imprisonment up to 5 years or a penalty up to 1 lakh or both according to Environment Protection Act of 1986. And the violators can also be asked to pay environmental damage compensation by state pollution control boards. The state pollution control boards of respective states, they may impose this environmental damage compensation as well on those industries who are still engaging in the manufacturing or supply or storage of these particular single-use plastics, or those industries which are violating the guidelines issued by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. I hope it is clear till now, right? So this is all about this particular article. And if you look at the global scenario, Bangladesh became the first country to ban these thin plastic bags in 2002. Way back in 2002 itself, Bangladesh banned the manufacture and storage and the use of this particular thin plastic bags in their country. And even China, it also issued a ban on plastic bags in 2022, and this ban will be implemented on a phase-by-phase manner. Even the European Union also banned certain single-use plastics for which alternatives are available. So they banned those single use plastics which can be replaced by other alternatives. I hope it is clear till now. So this is all about this particular article. So I hope you understood this particular article in a comprehensive manner. So without any further delay, let us get into our next article of our discussion. So let us look at the next article of today's discussion. Supreme Court to list Agnipath case next week. Very important article regarding GS paper 3 defense related article and GS paper 2 governance related article as well. In order to understand this particular topic in a comprehensive manner, you need to understand what exactly is this Agnipath scheme that was put forward by the government of India recently. So you all know that central government has came up with a short service recruitment scheme for armed forces. That means all the three forces of our military. So that particular scheme is Agnipath scheme. Agnipath scheme is actually a short service recruitment scheme for Indian military, Indian armed forces. Right. Now let us look at some important features, salient features of this particular scheme. Around 46,000 young people of between 17 and a half years to 21 age group to be recruited this year. And the tenure of these Agniveers, these particular people who recruited as part of Agnipath scheme are called as Agniveers. Agniveers tenure was just 4 years along with training. The training will be given for 6 months and around 3.5 years they will be deployed in the armed forces. After 4 years, 25% of these Agniveers will be selected for regular cadre and a full term of another 15 years. Only 25% of the Agniveers who were recruited as part of this particular scheme will be promoted, will be regularized, to permanent posts. And 75% Agniveers will be demobilized with the Seva Nidhi exit package of 11.71 lakh. After their withdrawal, they will be given a lump sum amount of 11.71 lakh with skill certificates, and there will be no pension or gratuity will be given to the 75% Agniveers, and scheme to be progressively be opened for women based on service requirements as well. What are the stated aims and stated objectives of this particular scheme? The first objective the government of India wants to meet is stash ballooning salary and pension bills. Recently the defense, the salary and pension bills are raising on a record level. That is the reason why, in order to cut down the salary and pension bills, central government has come up with this particular scheme and reduce the average age of armed forces from existing 32 to 24 to 26 in 6 to 7 years. Our army needs young people, right? Because the armed forces are supposed to work in adverse climatic conditions, adverse conditions like mountainous regions in the middle of sea, etc. That is the reason why a young army can work efficiently in the border areas. So that's why central government has come up with this particular decision. Induct tech-savvy youth for future warfare. So the future warfare and even the present warfare never need any huge forces, right? So present warfare needs only technology and technical interventions. Everything is happening through technology. Everything is, even the wars are fought through technology. Isn't it? That's why central government wants to invest more money into technological advancements and more advanced, weapons. Ensure nation building through disciplined youth with military ethos in civil society. These Agniveers, after the retirement, they get into civil society. Once they get engaged with the armed forces training for 6 months, they will be much disciplined, and the nation needs much disciplined youth for better nation building. Right, better economical development as well. And here there was a criticism as well. I hope you know that there was huge furor over this particular Agnipath scheme all throughout the country. And as far as the criticism of this particular scheme concerned, the first one is no pilot project to test the scheme. The central government or Ministry of Defense never introduced this particular scheme as a pilot project, as a trial project, but rather they directly, straight away introduced this particular scheme into armed forces. Second one will dilute professionalism, military ethos and fighting spirit. Since these Agniveers are given training for only 6 months period of time, they know this professionalism, military ethos and fighting spirit. The nation may compromise on these kind of skills. Takes 7 to 8 years to become a fully trained combat ready soldiers, but rather with this particular scheme, government is trying to provide the training for only 6 months period of time. Agniveers will be risk averse with bulk looking for a second career. Since these Agniveers are denied any social security facilities like pensions or gratuity, they will be forced to lead an unhappy life after the completion of their 4 years term. And critics also say that this particular scheme lead to militarization of the society. So many of these people among these 46,000 young people, 35,000 will become jobless despite having great defense capabilities because of their training. They may engage in anti-social activities, they may engage in anti-social practices as well. That is also one of the important concern. It may also threaten national security of India as well. Right? These are the salient features and critical analysis of this particular Agnipath scheme. I hope it is clear to you. Now, what this news article says is, many petitions were filed against this particular Agnipath recruitment scheme, challenging this particular Agnipath scheme in the apex court of India, that is Supreme Court. Supreme Court is going to list down this particular scheme the next week. This is what given in this particular article. Very, very important article. I hope you understood everything about this particular Agnipath scheme. Let us look at the next article now. So let us look at the next article of today's discussion. The title of this particular article says, India leading the world in digital revolution, says Prime Minister. Very, very important article regarding GS paper 3, economy related article, GS paper 2, government policies and interventions related article as well. So Mr. Narendra Modi recently participated in the ongoing Digital India Week 2022 event, and as part of this particular event, he launched many important initiatives like Meri Pehchan, Digital India Bhashini, Digital India Genesis, and a Chips to Startup program as well at Gandhinagar, Gujarat. Right? So during this particular event, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that India was leading the world in the digital revolution, and the government's use of digital technology in welfare and governance delivery is changing the lives of the people of the country. You all know that this era is the age of technology, and this era is the age of digital advancements, isn't it? So emphasizing on India's contribution to evolving digital revolution and evolving digital advancements, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that India can become a hub for digital revolution and India can lead the world in the digital revolution of present generation. Right? So this is what given in this particular article, and you must try to work on what exactly is digital economy. It will be a potential mains question for you. And how digital economy is very important for the lives and livelihoods of people, and also different characteristics of digital economy like gig economy, platform economy, etc., gig workers, platform workers, etc., and the concerns with digital economy as well. You need to make notes on these aspects, right? So very, very important article. I hope you understood this particular article in great detail. So with this, let's end this discussion. This is all about today's The Hindu analysis. Let's meet tomorrow. Bye, ma.